Well, as you can see, I am not in my studio today. I'm actually on site at Roaring Lamb's headquarters in Dallas, Texas, North Dallas. And we are yesterday, today, and tomorrow shooting some episodes for the Roaring Lambs TV for Liftable.tv. If you've been watching Leading Leaders, you know that we are now on Liftable TV as well as Story Power TV, which is another of our interview sets, and the Transforming Grace TV. Each of those have their own kind of flavor, their own interview styles to them. And Roaring Lambs TV is very similar, but they talk about the testimonies and stories of people that have engaged with Roaring Lambs at different levels. And Roaring Lambs is a nearly 40-year-old ministry that does a lot of different work throughout the U.S. One of their strongest features is actually teaching people how to share their testimony. Now, I do Story Power as the Story Power Masterclass. It's a coaching series. It's very intense, specifically designed for people who are maybe running for office, they're running a large organization and they need to be better communicators, to be better leaders. Maybe they're in public speaking or they want to get into public speaking. The Story Power Masterclass is extremely intense. The first initiation of it is a 6-hour course, and it is really mentally tough and very challenging. It's not for everybody, and it's not cheap. The ongoing coaching behind that is another 6 weeks of group coaching for those who advance from the masterclass to the group coaching. And then beyond that, I recommend that you spend some time in one-on-one coaching in order to develop your specific message. Not just the methodology, but the message that is yours, that is defined by you and defines you. The testimony workshop is $50. It's 2 or 3 visits to get together in a group to learn the process and the curriculum, and then to demonstrate what you've learned. And it opens up a floodgate. Roaring Lambs has, what is it, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now 7 books, and another one coming that are collections of stories of the people who've been through the testimony workshop. In addition to that, many of those people end up right here on this set in this very chair being interviewed about their story and telling the story of what God has brought them through in their life. If any of those are interest to you, drop me a line, send me a private message on Facebook, send me an email, whatever. We'd love to have you. Of course, now, if you get in this chair on Roaring Lambs TV or on my set for Story Power TV, your story is going to go all over the world now as part of Liftable.tv. And that means anybody with Roku, Netflix, any one of those OTT channel styles can reach your content on the phone, on the laptop, on their television at home, any way that they want to see it, and it's high quality, good streaming content. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you feel like you have a story worth hearing, a story that could transform lives. But that's not my only topic today. One of the challenges I've seen over the last couple of weeks, a lot of young people today who, for lack of a better term, have been brainwashed. They've been thoroughly convinced that the way they have been told to see the world is the only way to see the world. Now, if you're a leader, you have some responsibility there. And part of the responsibility that you possess as a leader, as an influencer, for lack of a better term, is to set the record straight. You have an obligation because you have an opportunity, because you have influence in the lives of those people that you have influence, to make sure that they have been exposed at least to multiple ways of understanding, to multiple opportunities to see and hear the same information. Maybe you haven't heard it, but Joe Rogan, not by any means a staunch conservative. You might put him in the center to far left as far as left and right of political views and social views and economic views. This is a guy who's willing to smoke weed on his podcast while he's being videoed, or at least talk about it and have people in the room that are doing it. And he wants to legalize marijuana. He has all kinds of social views that are completely opposite of what I believe. But on his show recently, he made the comment that he feels like Google is controlling information by making sure that certain things can't be searched. Now, that's been a quote-unquote conspiracy theory for a while. There have been a lot of people who've said, I can't find my content when I'm looking for it, or other people can't find my content. They've had URLs that just disappear. All the data is deleted. Everything in the background is gone. You can't restore the sites. They're just vanished. But they've also had stuff that you can type the entire string of information, the name of the article, the headline of the article, the date the article was published, the publisher of the article, and not find it on Google because Google is suppressing it. But if you go to another search engine, maybe a DuckDuckGo or something of that nature, you can type in just the theory around the article and boom, there it is. Top 50 releases or returns come back with that same content. So it's not that the content's not out there, it's just that there are certain things that you search and the response gives you only the information that Google wants you to have. Same thing happens on YouTube. I know for a fact that people have asked me, where do I find your videos on YouTube? And so I say, all you got to do is search my name. Just search J Loren Norris. That's it. Because that's the name of the channel. It's in the title of every video. It's in the body of every video, in the description. There's no way that an algorithm that functions properly shouldn't find videos by me. There are thousands of them. And yet people will stand there with their phones and search it and they're like, I see all kinds of stuff that's not you. And I'm like, well, that's fascinating. When we know that to be true in the world of technology, and we know that to be true in the school system, that there are ideas that are being suppressed. Meanwhile, we have teachers with a Marxist flag hanging in their schoolroom, teaching what they want to, throwing kids out, refusing to accept papers that are written by kids who disagree with the Marxist ideologies. We know that concept is not theory anymore. This is not a conspiracy theory. These are provable facts. And when parents step up and go, hang on, don't teach that in my school system. That's not what we paid you for. We want them to graduate knowing how to do math, knowing what the basics are about science, if that's a field they want to go into. Stick with STEM. But STEM is not what we're getting in most of our schools. What we're getting in most of our schools is a social re-engineering. We're getting the ideas that have been proven to fail. They failed for Hitler, they failed for Mao, they failed for Stalin, they failed for Mussolini. They have failed every time they've been tried. They failed in Venezuela, and they're failing now. They failed in Cuba, and they're failing now. They failed in China, except for the very elites who are in control of everything. And sadly, that looks like the model that many of the Marxists in America are pursuing right now, where the elites have everything, have control of everything, and everybody else gets nothing. It's not an accident that all the ships are sitting in harbor and not allowed to come to the shore. That's not an accident. It's not an accident that even Costco has a new policy about how much water and how much toilet paper you can buy. Sidebar, I was in Cuba. And when I was in Cuba, one of the things that we were asked to do was to bring our own toilet paper. Because toilet paper is not just rationed because it's in short supply in Cuba. It's a tracking mechanism. They manage and ration how much toilet paper each household can have so they know if they have long-term guests, because every guest uses a certain amount of toilet paper, right? So the process of the shortages, it's not an accident, it's a management. It's a way of understanding where people are moving throughout the country, where they're gathering, what they're doing. It's a way of finding people. I know you think that's totally nuts. I'm just telling you, look back over your history. And if the only history you learned was in the classroom, go buy some old books. If the only history you've been taught is from your history teacher from public school or college, get to a half-price books and buy the oldest books you can. Read up on what has been happening around our world in the last 100 years, and you're going to see there's a lot of truth there that has been suppressed, hidden, lied about, manipulated, retrained. I'm just telling you. So the obligation we have as leaders is to go get the old books and some of the new ones, to look at ideas that you don't currently hold and say, is it possible they're valid? Is there any modicum of truth to that? Is there a chance that I missed something? Because as leaders, if we don't continue to inform the next generation, when the greatest generation is gone, the truth of the Holocaust may go with them. See, right now, you can actually face-to-face interview someone who can say, I was there at Auschwitz, I was a victim, I still have the numbers on my arm. But you can also, on the same day, interview middle school and high school students who will tell you the Holocaust is a myth, it never happened. You can interview people who lived through the 6-Day War, But you can also interview people who say that Israel is an occupying nation and they need to give the land back to the Palestinians. Do your history. There is no land of Palestine. There's not one. There never has been one. There is no nation of Palestine. It's more like the Nation of Islam in that it is an ideological group of people, but they have never possessed tangible land until now. And what they have now was a gift to them. Just do some more research in the history, and you'll find that a lot of the rhetoric that's being told right now, our young people from middle school to high school to college, even advanced degrees, are following a line of thinking that's been given to them tailor-made. A long plan, an infinite game kind of a strategy to say, this is what I want you to know, and I don't want you to know anything else. I'm going to tell you what I think you should feel. I'm going to tell you what I think you should believe. I'm going to tell you how I think you should act. And I'm going to control everything about you when I do. That is what we're seeing in public education right now. Even when students are going to the school and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get an education, what they're not getting is mass abundance of free thinking and opportunity to dig into ideas they've never heard or understood before. What they're getting is an indoctrination to believe exactly a certain way. If you don't know what the word fealty is, I want you to go look that up. Fealty, F-E-A-L-T-Y, fealty. I want you to look up the word fealty, and I want you to dig into that concept and ask yourself, what would fealty look like today? Have I seen any examples of it in my life or the people around me? And if I have, what should I do about it? Fealty, F-E-A-L-T-Y. Look it up and then ask yourself as a leader, what obligation do I have to the next generation to make sure that they know what is truth about our history and what is a lie about our history? I believe there's a massive agenda underway that's been underway for decades. In the 1960s, the Communist Manifesto was read into the congressional record so that it can never be taken away. It's still there today. And if you look at the plan from the 1960s that the Communist Manifesto said this is what we're going to do to America, here we are almost 60 years later, and it's all coming true. The plan has been carried out. From the public education of our pre-K students not knowing whether they're male or female and the parents not having the right to tell them, oh yeah, that's in your school board sex education process right now awaiting approval. All the way up to people saying, I hate America because of all the bad things America has done. I'm not in any way going to say that America hasn't done bad things. But I am going to say, if you look over the 200 plus years history of the United States and compare to any 200-year history plan of any other nation on earth from the dawn of humanity, we have a much better track record for good than we do for evil. We've done a lot more good for people around the world than we've done evil. Oh yeah, we've done evil. There's no question about it. There have been unjustified wars, unjustified treatment of our own people, unjustified treatment of people around the world. There's no diminishing that. But are we the worst nation on earth? Absolutely not. And if the hope of democracy is stamped out in the United States, if the idea of a constitutional republic where we have representatives who represent the will of the people and vote based on that will, if that goes away, dictatorships and tyranny will dominate the face of the earth. Marxism, socialism, whatever label you want to slap on it, will dominate the face of the earth. Why? Because it has forever, since the dawn of humanity, been in the hearts of wicked men to rule over other men, the hearts of wicked women to rule over other women. When wicked people are in charge, that's what they do. You don't believe me? Grab some old books. Read about them. They're everywhere. They're all over the world. Oh, sometimes they wear the nicest sheep's clothing and they look harmless. They look like they're doing something beneficial. They will sell you rat poison and tell you it's the best delicacy on earth. Never mind all the people that died from it. You should try it. I'm just telling you. If you're in a leadership role, if you've got influence at all, do your homework outside of what you've already been told. Do your homework outside of what I've told you. Get some old books, read some old books. Forget about what you can find on Google. Everybody says, don't believe everything you see on YouTube, don't believe everything you see on Google. They usually do that to suppress conspiracy theories. I'm telling you right now, don't believe everything you find on Google, because they're already manipulating the way you think. They're already manipulating what you have access to think. Get to the bookstore, get to the old dictionaries. I have a set of 1980 encyclopedias, and I promise you, there are things in those encyclopedias that you cannot find in a search engine today. I'm just saying. Even history is being manipulated and rewritten. Why do you think terrorists around the world are tearing down monuments, ripping up the historical archives, destroying even what's in the Smithsonian as historical proof and evidence to what has been happening? Because they don't want you to know the truth. When you know the truth, you're hard to lie to. Leaders, you've got a responsibility. Figure out that historical truth for yourself and then carry it to the next generation, or we will find ourselves in a place where more people believe in the myth of the Holocaust than believe in the reality of it, because the eyewitnesses won't live forever. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.